let's face it, letting go of people you deeply love or care about, but who don't love you back quite the same way, can be very hard. But the truth is, unless you let yourself let them go, and until you realize that their chapter in your life is over, you cannot move forward and make space for a new beginning. You cannot move on from your experience with a person meant to be in your past if you keep dragging them into your present to strangle your future. And this is a fact. Now, moving on without them in your life any longer does not mean missing them won't hurt you. No. As a matter of fact, you'll miss them so much that it hurts despite how bad the relationship may have been for you. But you know what will hurt you even more than that? Staying and trying to fix what you can't fix, to keep what you can't keep. You see, letting go of someone you've invested your love and your life into is like losing a big chunk of your life, you think. But let me tell you, holding on is harder because you put yourself in a tug of war between your past and your future. And because you're too familiar and comfortable with your painful past, even though it hurt you, you keep leaning towards it and have trouble letting go when common sense tells you that you really should let go. The truth is, only when we let go of what we have are we able to receive and usher in what we really need. Now, my dear friend that prompted the making of this video today has been in and out of a remarkably unhealthy relationship with her fiance. And each time they break up, something in her dies. Many times I've watched her go from this happy and vivacious woman to a broken down and depressed heap of mess. And she would stay that way for months on end until they would get back together again and their happy chirpings of, "Oh, we're so in love again," would fill the air. But unfortunately for her, as I've told her, and for other people in the same situation, this kind of scenario plays out all the time. And it's always a short-lived one because she is in what I call the grip of a toxic relationship with a man she dearly loves. But in her case, love is just not enough to stop the hurt the relationship is causing her. They both can't seem to stay away from each other, and they keep breaking up and getting back together again, although it's causing them more pain to stay together than to be apart. Hello again, and welcome to another question and answer session with me. Today's question is, how do I let go when I can't stop holding on? And these were the words my dear friend blurted out to me recently amidst hot tears streaming down her face after yet another horrible breakup with her fiance. And as I held her close and tried to comfort her with the words I'm about to share with you today, I fought back my own tears because I could relate all too well with what she was going through. I'd been through it too myself. So if you are at a crossroad in a relationship with someone right now, or if you know someone who is, I may have a few words to encourage you with. I want to speak into your heart and speak into your life and ask you today to take that leap of faith into that new beginning and a healthy beginning that God has for you, okay? So if you're ready, keep watching. Don't go away. You see, there are people who have trouble letting go of an uncomfortable and painful past relationship because they think that what they've experienced is now a part of their identity. And in some weird way, they now believe they are what they've experienced because it's all they've ever really known. Basically, they feel they may not know who they are without the pain and discomfort they felt in that relationship. And this is what keeps drawing them back and making it impossible for them to let go. It's even more difficult if your partner is a narcissist who keeps reeling you back in, by dropping just enough breadcrumbs of their affection, so to say, so you keep coming back, but never enough to make you feel secure in the relationship with them. And if you're an empath or an optimist like myself, these breadcrumbs will give you vain hope that the relationship can be fixed, when most of the time it really can't anymore. But the topic today is not on narcissists and how they operate. It's a topic I intend to deal with in future, but not today. Now, coming back to what I was saying, You see, a toxic relationship can be a really tricky one too, because many of them start off full of promise. They start off with two seemingly emotionally healthy individuals who may have all the right elements to build a great relationship established upon mutual admiration, respect, and love. But somewhere along the line, somewhere along the way, these right elements can get replaced with everything else but love. There'll suddenly be resentment, there'll be jealousy or anger, there'll be bitterness, history, and a lot of hurt. Now, isn't it funny how the same heart that created such a loved up euphoria between two people in the beginning can then trip them up and throw them into something so unhealthy and toxic for them? And before they realize it, they've drifted onto the shores of a seriously toxic relationship. The truth that many couples don't pay attention to, and even myself when I was in a relationship, when we meet and fall in love without God's guidance, is that when you get into a relationship with someone, they could most likely be dragging behind them a trail of broken hearts, broken relationships, broken people, and some consequences that came with each of these history. And although this may not necessarily mean that your relationship with them will end up as a toxic one, it is, however, one of the indicators of how the relationship with you might progress if the issues from the last relationship were not resolved. And it is also a pointer to what you will now have to deal with as well. You see, we don't really understand the full implications of remaining in an unhealthy relationship until it's too late. If we remain in such a relationship, it will rob you of so much because it will take your focus away from your spiritual, emotional, and mental well-being and channel it into this deep, dark hole of anxiety and unending pain. An unhealthy relationship with anyone will destroy your self-esteem, your happiness, and the way you see yourself and the world. Like in the case with my dear friend, a relationship can start off as healthy, but bad feelings, bad history, anger issues, infidelity, or long-term unmet needs can fester and end up contaminating a once healthy and promising relationship and changing the people in it. And this can happen easily and quickly, and can happen to the strongest person, like this dear friend of mine. Now the question is, when one of you or both have reached a point where you know you're no longer able to be together in a relationship, do you then keep breaking up and making up and allowing that vicious and unhealthy circle of unending emotional pain to continue? Each time breaking your heart anew, all because you keep trying to force a relationship to work that clearly isn't meant to work. And every time you break up and leave them again, you leave a different person than you were when you first met or the last time you left. Frankly speaking, once you are in a relationship and you can no longer find yourself in it and your peace of mind is gone, it's time to call it a day. And please don't get me wrong here. You see, I know there will be fallouts in every relationship. It's normal, all right? But there comes a time when you realize that you've reached a true dead end with that person and you need to let go for good. You see, you can't force someone to care about you if they don't want to. And you can't force someone to be loyal to you if they don't want to be loyal to you. You can't force someone to be the person you need them to be to you either if they don't want to be anything to you. So you have to get to that point for yourself where you must decide if it's worth trouble going back to them or taking them back all the time to continue in that same toxic cycle of fighting that goes on every time you get back together. You see, if the relationship is already toxic, right, all the fight in the world won't change anything because one or both of you have moved on emotionally and the other is yet to catch up. The other is yet to accept it because they're still clinging to the familiar. Or perhaps one of you was never really interested in the relationship in the first place. So your heart was never really in it with them. Or maybe you were, but not in the same way as the other person needed you to be. And that, I told my dear friend, is what makes the difference. Because sometimes the person we want the most is the person who would be the best without, or best without. And we just never realize it until all the damage from fighting for so long to hold on to someone that is not fighting to hold on to us has taken its toll. We have to understand that some things and people are meant to happen to us, but they're just not meant to be. And some things and some people are meant to come into our lives, but they're also just not meant to stay. And the more you allow yourself to stay there, to stay with them, the more damage you get, just like the case has been with this dear friend of mine, who now looks the shadow of her former self. All relationships are worth the fight. I know that. That's very true until they're not anymore. And that is the fact, again, we need to come to terms with so that we can let go with grace and love and move on happily. Now, this is what I said to this dear lady friend of mine. I said to her, if you're able to ask yourself these 3 questions and answer them sincerely when determining whether or not it's healthy to continue holding on to that toxic relationship you're grappling with right now, you'd have started a journey to getting away and staying away to recover your self-worth and self-esteem again. And I asked her this first question. I said, number 1, I said, what's really still keeping you in the situationship you call a relationship? Because if someone really loves you, it should feel like they love you, nothing else. Think about it. If you're feeling insecure all the time, then there's a reason why you're feeling the way you are, right? Have you considered that? So don't just ignore your feelings. You must learn to trust your gut feeling about any relationship you're in and act on it, because it's important to ensure that your happiness, your self-esteem and self-respect should always be on the list. Always. Never take it down for anyone else. All right? Now, the second question I asked her was, are you the same person you were back then when you both met? This is a very vital question. And by this, I mean, have you changed for the better or for the worse? Because listen, relationship changes people, but it shouldn't be in a negative way. It should mature and refine you. You should be glowing, be happy. You should be growing in it also and becoming a much better person than you were when you went in it, Basically, you shouldn't be in a state of decline after entering one. Okay? If a relationship is built on love, it nurtures, restores, replenishes, and revives. It does not diminish you. It should not diminish you. And my final question to her was this: is your life without the relationship more peaceful and happier now in the present moment? Now, if your answer to that is yes, I asked her, then thank God. You made it out and you didn't lose your mind. So why change the situation and return to what you've just escaped from just because you miss being in a relationship with them? Everything you need to be happy has always been in you. But when you are with someone who suffocates those precious parts of you, you deny yourself what you deserve. You owe them nothing, but you owe yourself everything. You deserve to thrive and to feel safe, and you deserve to be happy. So stay happy, I said to her. And if your answer is no, again, I said to her, then don't worry. Just allow yourself the time to heal and, listen to this, detox your soul from all you've gone through with them so that you can attract the right person that God has for you at the right time and who deserves you and will reciprocate every love you pour into the new relationship with them. It is important for us to remember that returning to the familiar old pain that made you lose yourself just because you're comfortable with that pain should never be an option, just because you're unhappy or missing them. Also, okay? Staying in a relationship should never have you losing yourself as one of the conditions. Sometimes it's better to move on than to hold on to a person who doesn't understand you or care about you or even love you. And sometimes your absence will teach them what your presence cannot. These were the words I shared with this dear lady friend of mine, and I believe she actually listened to me for the first time ever, and I know she's going to be watching this video, and so I want to use this opportunity to tell her that I love her dearly. And I'm so proud of her for choosing to take back her power over her own life. Let me end by saying this, because I'm out of time. And I speak as someone who has had her own fair share of toxic relationships in its various forms and intensity. Toxicity in any relationship does not make any sense at all. It absolutely does not. You see, in an attempt to make it make sense, we might sometimes blame the history we have with the person or the history they've had with someone else that has made them the way they are, or even the history we've had with someone else that has also made us the way we are. We might blame circumstances or even our own behavior. But the truth of it all is that none of that matters. It really doesn't matter where the toxicity comes from or the reason for it being there. What matters, my darling, is you and how you decide to extricate yourself from it and treat yourself well again by putting yourself first. All right? So a big thank you to all of you for stopping by again today. If you've enjoyed watching this video, please leave a comment, like, and don't forget to subscribe, and then click on the bell symbol down there so you can get a notification each time I upload a new video. I had a bit of a blackout there, okay? Have a wonderful day. Stay amazing. God bless you.